Fall is my favorite time of year. Falling leaves, cooler temperatures, and the onset of the holiday season. Kicking off the month and a half of festivities is one of the most beloved holidays of all, Thanksgiving. Now, the reason why I like Thanksgiving so much is because I get to help create a delicious meal for my family to show how much I love and appreciate them. Now, in my Italian family, we not only have the traditional turkey with all the trimmings, but we do a full-on Italian course as well, with a baked pasta, usually lasagna, stuffed shells, baked ziti, sausages, meatballs, antipasti, my Uncle Eddie's famous onion soup, and of course, desserts. Yeah, no one leaves our house hungry. Now, all of this food takes a lot of prep, so usually what we do is split up the jobs. This year, Mom is taking care of all the Italian dishes. Nobody ever touches the onion soup except for my dad, and my sister Jennifer, the frosting fairy, is in charge of desserts, leaving me with the turkey and all the trimmings. Now, this kind of meal usually requires training yourself to the kitchen for hours, and by the time you're finished, you're too tired to eat. I'm going to show you how to create a badass Thanksgiving feast with less time in the kitchen and more time with your family. Let's get cooking. First up, my badass brine turkey. Say goodbye to dry. This brine not only injects your bird with amazing flavor, the simple technique makes for one juicy bird. What's a turkey without stuffing? My Italian twist on a classic stuffing will stop the "is it stuffing or is it dressing" arguments and have everyone saying mmm. Badass your mash this year with my garlic smashed potatoes. They're creamy, savory, and oh so good. Next up, it's my sweet potato hash. Tender cubes of sweet potato baked with a bacon and brown sugar topping. One bite and I promise you won't miss the marshmallows. And start a new tradition with fresh green beans. Mine are sauteed with a bit of garlic and finished off with a lemony vinaigrette.
How do you brine a turkey?
Well, if it isn't my cousin, the neo-science girl. I wasn't expecting you till later on today.
Well, since the ceviche episode, I seem to have been bitten by the culinary bug.
Okay.
Yeah, and since I've been practicing, I figured I'd help you out with dinner. In fact, I've come up with a doozy of an apple pie recipe that I'd like to try out on the family.
Okay.
But first, what is this brine that you speak of?
Well, actually, it involves a little bit of science, so I think you're going to get a kick out of it.
Science! I love science! It's what I live for.
Okay. Well, brining involves taking some liquid, water, vinegar, some salt, sugar, and spices, and submerging the turkey in for about 12 to 24 hours. Basically, the acids are going to break down the connective tissue, allowing for a very tender and juicy bird once it's cooked.
I am not worthy.
Okay.
You know, I'm a little bit nervous about my apple pie recipe now. Maybe I should chuck that can of apple pie filling and start from scratch. I'm gonna go pick some fresh apples. I'll be back in a flash.
Be careful with the moccasins on the wood floor. It gets kind of slippery.
I'm okay.
Well, let's get back to the bird. So I've got my brine ready to go. Basically, I took some water, apple cider vinegar, salt, sugar, and pink peppercorns that I squished up a little bit, threw them in the pot, let it go to a rolling boil. Then I took it off and let it cool down a little bit. Now I'm going to add some ice. There we go. Now the reason why I put ice in this is to cool it down quickly. Remember, when you're using a brine, you never want to put your protein into a warm brine. That's going to encourage the growth of bacteria, and you do not want that. Not very badass. Now, to put my turkey into the brine, I'm going to use a pair of my trusty gloves. Again, keeping things nice and clean. And I'm going to take my turkey right over here and very gently submerge him all the way in the brine. Now, that turkey has got a nice big cavity. You want to make sure you push the turkey down, because if the water doesn't get in there, your turkey is just going to basically float. Doing the backstroke. Oh yeah. All right, so now I'm going to cover him up and let him hang out in the fridge overnight. Remember, if you're planning on doing a brine, you might want to do this step the day before. Luckily for us, I happen to have a turkey already brined and ready to go. Let's go get him. All right, so our turkey has been brined, rinsed, and patted dry. Now we're going to add some extra deliciousness. Right here, I have some butter that I've mixed with some herbs and spices. Now, if I were to put this on top of the turkey, it's going to flavor the skin. We want to do more than that. So we're actually going to go underneath the skin and put this buttery goodness all in there. To do that, your trusty gloves, and basically, you want to very gently create a pocket between the skin of the turkey and the breast meat. Check that out. Now that we've got all that done, we're going to take some of this delicious buttery goodness, fun part, and smoosh it right in the turkey. Just spread it all the way down in there. And you want to be careful because you don't want to pop through the skin, because the skin is going to keep everything nice and moist and juicy, so this way your bird doesn't dry out. So now that we've got all of this yummy buttery goodness in there, we don't want to make the rest of the turkey feel left out. So we'll take some of it and just kind of smush it all on top and on the legs and thighs too. And even though this turkey is not cooked, he smells great already. Some in between the wings over there. Yeah. Now we're going to transfer the turkey to our roasting dish. Now I like to take a mixture of carrots, onions, and celery and put it on the bottom of the pan. This is actually going to add to the flavor of the drippings of the turkey, but it's also going to keep the turkey slightly elevated from the pan. I also like to add a cup or two of white wine. Again, that's going to help flavor the turkey and the drippings. Pour that all in there. Now it's time to set our bird. He's heavy. All right, there we go. And if you thought that wasn't enough flavor, we're going to add one more dimension. I've got some aromatics that I'm going to stuff inside the turkey. Now that cavity in the turkey is going to create a lot of steam inside once it starts to cook. So all of these herbs and flavors are actually going to steam inside, flavoring the turkey from the inside out. So I've got an onion. Get that in there. I've got one whole lemon. Get you in there too. Nice. And I've got a handful of herbs. I've got rosemary, thyme, and sage. There we go. All right. Take my gloves off. Now I'm going to wrap this guy in some foil and I'm going to roast him in the oven. Generally, you want 20 minutes per pound at 325 degrees. My turkey is a little bit under 13 pounds, so he's going to cook for a little over 4 hours. I'm going to roast him in foil, and then for the last hour, I'll take the foil off to help him get a nice golden brown. Now, when you cover up your bird, make sure you leave a little vent on either side. That's going to allow the steam to escape. All right, our turkey's ready to roast. Let's put him in the oven. So here's a quick tip for you. If you're using one of these disposable aluminum pans, they can be a little bit flimsy, and sometimes it'll be hard for you to take the turkey out of the oven. Ta-da! Just a regular cookie sheet. We're going to actually put this on the cookie sheet. That'll give it some sturdiness, so this way it's easier to take in and out of the oven. Our turkey's ready to go. Let's put him in. All right, so I've got 4 pounds of potatoes that I've cleaned and cubed, and I've got them in enough water just to submerge them. Now, I leave the skins on because I like the way it tastes. You can take the skins off if you like, but remember, if you do leave the skins on, to scrub your taters really good. All right, to that, I'm gonna add some smashed garlic. How do you smash garlic, you ask? Just like this. Take your clove of garlic, take your knife, flat side, blade away from you, ball up your fist, pretend you're the Hulk, and smash. Yeah, and it's pretty good because it actually removes most of your skin and it breaks up the garlic, so this way the nice garlic oils and flavor can start going throughout. Now with this dish, use 1 clove of garlic for every pound of potatoes that you have, plus 1 for the pot. That's a rule of thumb. Get all these smashed up. And now they're going to go right into my pot with my potatoes. Now we're going to boil those until they're fork tender. Then we're going to add some butter, some cream, some salt and pepper. Good. Now while they're cooking, we're going to work at the same time at our stuffing and our sweet potato hash. For my stuffing, I've got 4 ounces of pancetta. For my sweet potato hash, I've got 10 ounces of peppered applewood smoked bacon. Then we're going to put our pancetta in another pot. And we're going to cook both of these on about medium heat. We want to cook them low and slow because we want to render down the fat, because the fat is going to add all sorts of porky goodness to both of these dishes. All right, so my pancetta is ready to go, so we're going to start working on the stuffing. I'm going to take half a stick of butter, add it to the pancetta, my handy dandy wooden spoon, let that melt. Now that butter is going to melt with the bacon fat, or the pancetta fat, and it's going to create lots and lots of deliciousness in our stuffing. And I'm going to add my celery and onions that I've got nice and minced. Then we're going to add some fresh chopped sage, pinch of salt, and some fresh cracked pepper. Give it a little stir. Then we're going to cover it up and let it cook until the onions and celery are nice and tender. Now we're going to rescue our little bacon bits. What was the other name I gave to those little bacon bits?
Hard-ons.
Wow, you do pay attention. Nice. So all that yummy bacon fat rendered down, and we're going to cook our sweet potatoes, our onions and peppers in that too. All right, so I'm going to take onion and some Anaheim pepper and about a quarter of a stick of butter. I'm also going to add a little bit of salt in and some fresh cracked pepper. And just like we did with our celery and onion mixture for our stuffing, we're going to cook those until the veggies are nice and soft and translucent. Looks like my stuffing veggies are finished. So now we're going to give it a little stir. Oh yeah. That looks great. And it smells even better. I'm going to take a dash of white wine, about a quarter of a cup. Now I'm going to add my croutons. I actually use croutons rather than the actual stuffing mixes for my stuffing. You get a bigger texture of your bread. So you've got these bread cubes that are a little bit bigger, so you get a bigger, chunkier, heartier texture to your stuffing. And you also get a lot more flavor. These particular croutons are a basil pesto panini crouton. So the bread has got a little bit more oomph to it anyway. You've got that basil kind of woven throughout it. With my pancetta, it's actually going to make a really nice Italian twist on a stuffing. All right. Those are in. I'm going to add some chicken stock. You're going to add about 3 cups of chicken stock. I'm going to mix it as best as I can. Let's give it a little toss. If your stuffing looks a little too dry, you can always add a little more chicken stock. To finish it off, I'm going to add a bit of lemon zest. This is going to brighten up the dish and add to the Italian flair. You're going to zest about half of the lemon. Now we're going to shut off the heat, cover it up, and we're just going to remove it from the heat and let it sit. That will enable the croutons to suck up all the moisture and get nice and fluffy. After about 10 minutes, take a fork, fluff your stuffing. Now we'll give it a taste. It's so good because it's a completely different twist on your stuffing. You get the basil flavor from the croutons. You get these nice salty, savory chunks of pancetta, and that bit of lemon zest just brightens up the whole dish. All right, we're going to cover that so it stays warm for when our company comes over. All right, so now it looks like our peppers and onions are just about done. I'm going to add a bit of wine. Just a little. That's going to deglaze the pan, get up all those nice bacony bits and juices. Now I'm going to add my sweet potatoes. I've got 3 pounds of sweet potatoes cut into about 1/2-inch cubes. Now I'm going to cover them up and let them cook until the sweet potatoes are nice and tender. I'm going to give them a taste to make sure that we've got the right seasoning. I'm going to add a little bit of salt and some brown sugar. Give these guys a stir. We're going to let those guys sit for a little while we make our topping. I've got some quick oats, some brown sugar, and the bacon that we cooked earlier. And all we're going to do is just mix them all together. Just kind of get the brown sugar. We're going to get the brown sugar nice and incorporated in with the oats. Break up those little chunks. Add a little bit of salt and our bacon. Now we're going to take our potato mixture out, put it into this pan, and then put that crumb topping over it. All right. Smooth that out so it's all nice and even. And now, for the best part, our crumbly topping. And just kind of take it by the handfuls, just sprinkle it all over. Alright, this is going to go in a 350-degree oven for about 20 minutes, or until the topping is nice and bubbly. Now what I like to do is get this prepped ahead of time. This way, when the turkey is finished, you can take the turkey out and put this in. The turkey's going to take about 15 to 20 minutes to rest, so while the turkey is resting, this will get finished. That way, all of your dishes are done at the same time. Pretty smart, huh? Alright, we're going to let this sit for a few minutes, and then we're going to get on to our mashed potatoes. So now I'm going to add plenty of butter and cream. First I've got, yes, it's a whole stick of butter. It's the holidays. You're not going to be counting calories today, are you? Alright, so we've got that taken care of. I'm going to start mashing these potatoes so the butter starts to melt. Yeah, that looks good. Alright. And while I'm mashing the potatoes, remember those 5 cloves of garlic that we put in here? Those are getting mashed too. Hence the name garlic smashed potatoes. All right. Be liberal with the salt. Some fresh cracked black pepper. Actually, this is a blend of black, white, and pink peppercorns, which I like, but you can use whatever kind of peppercorn you like. And some heavy cream. I actually heat up my cream before I put it in the potatoes. This way, it doesn't take the temperature of the potatoes down like it would if I were to take it straight from the fridge and put it in. Now, you can mash as long as you like. I like a little bit more of a chunky potato, so I'm going to leave some chunks in there. But you can use a hand masher. If you want a real smooth potato, you can use a food mill or a ricer. One thing you don't want to do is use any kind of electric equipment like a blender or a immersion mixer, anything like that, because what that's going to do, it rotates so fast, it's going to actually make the starches in the potato get really, really gloppy and gummy, and that will completely ruin your mashed potatoes. So this is one thing that's best done the old-fashioned way, by hand. Gotta have a taste. I gotta say, mashed potatoes may be one of my favorite foods of all time. All right, I'm gonna put just a little bit more salt, and my mashed potatoes are done. Now, to keep these babies warm, we can either put the cover back on them and set them on the stove. We don't have to put the burner on or anything. The remaining heat from the burner will actually keep them a little bit warm. Now, if it's going to be a little bit of time before you eat, what you can do is you can actually take them, transfer them to a double boiler set to low so it's just barely simmering, and that'll actually keep the potatoes nice and warm without burning them or getting them sticky. If you need to, at the very end, if they're a little bit dry, you can add a little extra butter and cream if you like. All right, last but not least, we have our green beans. Now, I've never been able to eat the famous green bean casserole because it's made with cream of mushroom soup, and I am allergic to mushrooms. Besides, I like the taste of fresh green beans. This dish is nice because it's made with a lemon vinaigrette. That's going to actually cut through some of the rich foods that you're going to be eating on Thanksgiving, and that's going to give you a little bit of a break, which is nice. Also, the bright green color adds a nice pop of color to your table. All right, first we're going to start off with a little bit of olive oil in our frying pan, and I'm going to add 2 cloves of smashed garlic. We're going to cook that garlic in the olive oil for a minute or two, just until the garlic starts to release a beautiful garlicky aroma. All right, I'm starting to smell my garlic, so I'm going to add my green beans. I'm also going to add about a tablespoon or 2 of water. A little bit of salt, some pepper, give those babies a quick toss. Then I'm going to put a cover on them and let them steam on low for about a minute or 2. All right, so our green beans are done. So what I'm going to do is remove them from the pan. All right, so now I'm going to take the garlic out and discard it because we're finished with that. So now I'm going to take about a tablespoon of olive oil, about a tablespoon of butter, and some lemon juice and a little bit of white wine vinegar. Now to pour it over our green beans. Delicious. And really pretty too. All right, I guess I better clean up this stuff because my cousin is going to be home with her apples any minute now. Phew! That was a big cleanup. I wonder where my cousin is. She's been gone an awfully long time. She should have been back by now. Uh-oh, she's back.
Well, I'm back, and look at these beauties. They're going to be perfect for my apple pie. But first, to preheat the oven.
Whoa, 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 chickie. The turkey still has a few more hours to go.
But how am I going to bake my pie in time for dessert? I've got it. I'll just use the time machine to fast forward till after the turkey is finished. Shazam!
No. Remember what happened the last time you tried using that time machine?
Huh. Where is your sense of adventure? Like you call yourself a badass.
Avoiding bodily harm and molecular reconstruction is badass.
Poppycock. I'm going for it.
All right. Tell you what, I'm going to wait right over there.
Whatever. Aw, nuts. Now what am I gonna do? It's worth a shot. I wish I had a solution to my dessert dilemma. I wish I had a solution to my dessert dilemma. OMG! It is she that makes life sweeter, the frosting fairy! Oh, tell me, great one, what's a neoscience girl to do? My dessert needs to bake, but I have no space in the oven.
Is she for real? You have no idea.
Honey, not all desserts need to be baked.
Is she for real?
I don't get paid enough for this.
I'm thinking a no-bake apple pie cheesecake will be the ticket. A nice creamy cheesecake with an apple pie filling and a crumbly cinnamony topping, all without even opening the oven door.
That sounds great! Let's get cooking! Jinx!
Now, first, we'll have to prepare the pan and the crust. So, you take the pan, butter it up, crush those cookies, and I'll work on the nice apple filling.
All right.
All right, I've got some fresh apples, cored, peeled, and sliced. We're going to cook these over the stovetop with some butter, cinnamon, cardamom, nutmeg, ginger, and a dash of salt. Now we're going to add a special kick, a bit of Kentucky's finest. Don't worry, the alcohol's going to burn off.
While the butter's melting, I'm going to crush the cookies for the crust.
Now we're going to add our spice mix. And now the bourbon. Okay, so now we've lowered our heat to low. We're going to cover our apples and let them cook for 5 minutes until they're nice and tender. Now, after your apples are cooked, you need to let them cool completely.
Now we're going to work on the crust. I've gone ahead and buttered this little square baking pan. And I've taken my food processor and crushed 12 shortbread cookies. I'm going to dump this in here. You got to pat it to get all the cookies out. And take your clean hands and press it all in the bottom. Make sure you make it nice and even. How does that look?
It looks good.
High five? Maybe not. All right. Now we have to do the topping, but we also have to do the creamy, dreamy cheesecake filling. I think I'll let you handle that.
You got that right, sister. Okay, so now our apples are finished, so we took them off the heat and they're gonna cool. Now, to the creamy cheesecake part. First we've got our cream cheese. To that we're gonna add our heavy whipping cream. Here, you wanna lick the bowl? And our super fine sugar. And then whip it.
Whip it good. So while we're waiting for the apples to cool down, we've got to make the topping. I've got in my little processor about 3 cups of cinnamon toast cereal that I'm going to pulverize since I'm really, really good at destroying things. Now, once the cereal is kind of partially crunched, I'm going to add some brown sugar and some extra cinnamon.
Now what do we do next?
Assemble!
First, we're going to put in a layer of cream cheese.
That looks really good. Then a layer of apples.
Mmm.
They smell pretty good.
Then the rest of the cream cheese.
That's so good.
You've earned it.
And it's so pretty. Now we have the crumb topping. We're going to use a handy dandy pizza pie plate to put our dessert on. So this way, when we sprinkle the crumbs on top, we don't make a mess everywhere, because my cousin would kill me if I made a mess out of her kitchen. And voila, we're done.
Not bad, NSG. I think you're getting the hang of this. Well, I've got to buzz off. There's some guy in Tacoma who's having some problems getting his Jell-O mold to gel. Anyway, just remember, anytime you get a disaster for a dessert or a dessert disaster, you can always call on me, kid. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
How does she do that? What was that? Oh, just a little sweet inspiration. You know, we put together a pretty great spread. Our family is gonna flip. And I helped. And the best part is, now we've got plenty of time to relax and enjoy the family. Well, I guess there's only one thing left to do. From our family to yours, have a fun and fearless Thanksgiving.
Help!
Every time a bell rings, the frosting fairy gets her wings.
The microphone don't pick up the thoughts.
What?
Okay. When you leave, I make all sorts of faces and stuff at the camera.
It's okay, I picked my nose.
Oh, that's awesome.
Hunger is not badass. To find out how you can help, contact your local food bank or go to www.feedingamerica.org or www.nokidhungry.org. Together, we can combat hunger in our communities.